Hi, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to the Sunday morning Joe and Joe Weather Show. And right now, it's just me. Oh, here he comes. He's a little late today, so you know what? I'm gonna just let me run through a few things, and then we'll bring him in. So, the Joe and Joe Weather Show, as always, brought to you by our friends at Omni True Value Hardware, and they are, of course, Long Island's largest provider of not only the winter stuff, which we don't need anymore, but the spring stuff, which is mulch, and more mulch. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, and Southwest Suffolk County on Long Island. 631-756-1125. They make all their mulch there, so they have the lowest prices in town. And if you've been to any of the, even the big box garden places, they prices have really gone up. So you can get some good deep prices at omnitruevalue.com, at Omnitrue Value Hardware, and their website is omnitruevalue.com. So now let's bring Mr. Rayo into the picture here, and hang on one second. We will invite him in, and whoops, let's see. He should be appearing momentarily, and I will resume fixing these boxes up a little bit. Hang on. I know you're there somewhere. There you go. All right. So I started the show already. So
I was sitting here for a few minutes, and I
yeah,
didn't know what was the story. I mean,
the admit Joe Rayo button didn't come up until about a minute or so ago. So I figured, and I started anyway. We're here, okay, and it's a Sunday. Um, So I got to ask you because I was looking at these obs on Friday. The winds were crazy. They were just it just seemed they were just unrelenting in through the afternoon and evening hours. I guess the only upside was a few people pointed out the fact that the temperatures at least were on the warmish side in the 60s instead of being down in the 40s or something lower. But brother, that was one big wind event on Friday.
yeah, and it looks like Joe, we may not be over with the wind. I mean, I just stepped outside a little while ago, and yeah, it's not windy, but it's still a bit on the breezy side here. And looking downrange toward the end of the week, we may be dealing with something unusual for the month of May, and maybe a full-blown nor'easter. What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, actually, if you having looked at the European and the GFS, it really they're not that far. They're not really that different, even though the European has maybe a little bit of a flatter look to it, and it really boils down to the upper air and whether we're going to get a sharp trough that's going. The GFS and the European is just really a difference of how strong the troughs are. The GFS goes kind of, uh, I don't want to say hog wild, that's probably overstating it, but it does have a fairly sharp, negatively tilted trough, and the European is just a bit flatter. And I think that's really where the big differences lie here. Either way, we'll probably wind up with clouds and maybe some rain at the end of the week. But yeah, the GFS has a much more wrapped up looking upper air, which would support a much more wrapped up storm system. But no guarantees yet. I'm not sure how the GFS loves to do this, where it loves to spin up these storms, and they wind up not happening. So it just, and of course the time that you decide that okay, I'm going to go against the model will be the one time that it's right. Broken clock's right twice a day.
I was supposed to have someone come and take down a couple of trees on the property here on Friday, but because of all the wind that took place, Saturday, I should say, yesterday, but because of all the wind that occurred on Friday, he called me up Friday night and said, "Look, I've got a bunch of emergency calls I have to tend to first." He said, "How about next Saturday?" And I said, "Well, all right, it sounds okay, whatever." But then I got to look at the models, including the GFS, and I called him right back and said, "Look, Friday and Saturday of next week are out. Can you come Thursday?" So hopefully He will be here on Thursday before the next round of mayhem or possible mayhem occurs here. But it looks like we could be in line, as you said, especially if the GFS is right, for a bit of more in the way of wind and also in terms of rain.
Yeah, looking at the weather across the U.S. Today and over the next couple of days, I really didn't see. We're sort of in this funny place in the season now because now we're beginning. You start to get deeper into the spring. You're not quite to summer yet, obviously, but every once in a while you get one of these really very warm days, and of course those become more frequent as you get, toward the latter part of May and particularly into June. But on the other hand, you still have, the last remnants of winter are finally should be getting to the point where they're few and far between. So we're sort of in this funny place where weather-wise, for example, over the next couple of days, not much, nothing really eventful stands out to me. We're just kind of going with the flow. Weather, wind direction, weather front. Some days more of an ocean wind, some days less. Some days more in the way of clouds, some days less. There's no defining theme here over the next week or two. It's just kind of a slow go, I think.
Of course, looking back a year ago, we were moving into an unseasonably cold pattern, which eventually climaxed on the 9th of May of last year with a touch of snow here in
Right.
the New York metropolitan area.
Yeah. So hopefully not a repeat performance of that. By the way, the wind on Friday actually got down to me here in North Georgia in the mountains. I had some gusts up between 30 and 35 miles an hour, which, at 2,200 feet, it's
Yeah,
it's pretty obvious. It doesn't get that windy here, so even when you get to 20 to 30, considering how far south I was to everything that was going on, but it just also goes to show you the impact of this, the trough that was in the eastern part of the United States really just kind of reached all the way down into the southeastern part of the U.S. This was a rather high impact event from the middle part from late last week. But today looks
kind of makes me
okay.
also wonder. Kind of makes me wonder, though, why, for example, at Mount Holly in Philadelphia, the National Weather Service forecast office, almost a full day ahead of our Weather Service office for New York, already had high wind watch posted. It looked kind of strange to see virtually the entire state of New Jersey under a high wind watch, and yet the New York metropolitan area had nothing. They just had in their daily summation, they said, well, on day 2 we may have some gusty winds, but that's it took almost a full day before they finally came in and said, all right. And of course, naturally, instead of a high wind warning, they issued their usual wind advisory
Right.
for our area.
Well,
I don't even know whether or not they're together, so to speak, or they're talking. I mean, why would one weather office, hold back on at least putting up a watch? I mean, the watch is what it is. We're watching for the possibility of high winds. That's what all of New Jersey and Southeast Pennsylvania was under, thanks to the Philadelphia office. New York, unless you were watching your favorite TV or listening to your favorite radio weathercaster who was telling you that it was going to be windy on Friday, you had no clue that
oh,
we were going to be
and
subjected to what we were.
and Albany, in the Hudson Valley was, and I was talking with Timothy Veltman about this on Thursday. Albany's view on this was what wind? There's going to be wind. I'm not seeing it. I mean, nothing. Not even a mention. And then, of course, all of a sudden they go with the high wind warning in the county surrounding Albany and the wind advisory everywhere else. It's very, I don't know. It seems as if when it comes to wind, I've noticed this a few times. This is not the first time that we've had that this has happened where you got one office that jumps out ahead. It seems like with wind, it's a little more disjointed. Usually, when it comes to the winter storm stuff and a lot of other things, it's relatively well coordinated, where the officers, they talk to each other, and sometimes it's also a matter of timing. Who's thinking the strongest winds? Is it going to be in the first part of the day? So I got to put it up now. Is it going to be in the second part of the day? So I get it. I got another. I can punt to the next forecaster. So I don't know. But it does seem strange because when it comes to wind, this sort of thing seems to happen more often than not.
And it has been happening quite a bit on my Facebook page on Friday, or actually it was on Thursday. On Thursday, I had posted on Facebook kind of an advisory or a warning, telling people, that we were in for. I even put the lead title for this message, "Batten Down the Hatches," because it looked that we could be seeing some
Right.
rough weather, especially late Friday and Friday night. And what I got back was at least a half a dozen comments from people saying, "What the heck is it with the wind? It seems like every other day it's windy here all of a sudden." And I pointed out that out of the last 4 Fridays, Joe, 3 of the 4 had been abnormally windy. I don't know what it is about Friday. And guess what? If we get that nor'easter or that coastal system this Friday, we'll make it 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
Or is it 5 out of 6? I'm losing count here.
Either way,
It's amazing.
it does seem to be a very busy stretch. Well, you know what, Joe? We've been talking about the wind earlier, pretty early last week. Usually, the Weather Service offices are watching our program, ever so closely, dissecting it word for word, line by line, then replaying it to make sure they write down everything we hear. I mean, apparently, maybe they kind of, maybe the internet was down at some of these offices, so they weren't able to hear us. By the way, I love this. I really would like to get the mindset behind this. So Wednesday night into Thursday morning, okay. So we were talking about the possibility. We were kind of going back and forth on the idea of will there be some severe weather issues on Thursday or not. We were sort of, SPC. I don't know if you caught this, but SPC, during the day on Wednesday, going into Wednesday night's show, had marginal risk pushed up to about the New Jersey-Pennsylvania state line, mostly southern Pennsylvania, south and west. Okay. During the night, they did their night forecast going into 12Z for the 12Z morning forecast on Thursday morning. They had slight risk. They pushed slight risk all the way up to Albany. They had slight risk in eastern Pennsylvania. They had slight risk everywhere. Okay. And, the marginal risk on either side. I kind of thought that was a little aggressive when I saw it, but I was like, okay, I guess maybe they're seeing something that I'm not seeing. And then the very next forecaster comes out and as soon as I kind of wrote my stuff, my website post and everything else, of course, the minute I posted it, they updated that forecast. They took all the slight risk out. They squashed all the marginal risk down. It's like, I don't know what was. It just did. It went from. It was such a radical swing from what they had to what somebody put during the overnight, only to have someone come in and correctly get rid of all that slight risk. It was just kind of funny because usually you see changes, but you don't see them do that very often, where they don't have it, then they have it, then they don't have it.
Well, this is forecasting is a subjective game. Whatever you see may not be seen by the person who you work with on the next shift or even right next to you. There was a case, I think you remember this, Joe, at our former place of employment, where I had come in I think it was in November. It was a November day. I had come in and got myself settled in, and I'm not going to mention who it was, but I had
I love when you
person
say
sitting
that.
to my left.
I love that.
There was a person sitting to my left who was working on a map for possible snow. And you and I, having been around for a long time, we were saying to ourselves, we were going to get a trace of snow or maybe an inch in a few spots. And as I'm getting settled in, the person who was sitting next to me, you had said, "Why don't you show Joe your map?" And I looked at the map, and this person had drawn a snow map with contours showing 1 to 2 inches, 2 to 4 inches, and I think up just north of where I live, like the possibility of up to 5 inches of snow. And I looked at the map, remember now, you and I are thinking along the lines of a trace to maybe an inch.
Right.
And here's a map showing up to 5 inches. And I looked at the person who did the map, who, of course, was not as experienced as you and I, much younger than you and I. And I looked at him and I looked at the map and I said, you really want to put this on? You really want to go on the air with this? And at that point, you started going like, yeah, which is pretty much what you more or less told him.
I was Walter.
You probably said like, let's wait for Joe Rayo to come in and see what he thinks.
Yeah, I was doing my best Walter Houston from from Treasure of Sierra Madre. That was that was yeah.
But that gives you an idea. That gives you an example of what one forecaster may see and what another forecaster, maybe a more experienced or a more knowledgeable forecaster might think.
Could be
in terms of the situation you just described with the showers and thunderstorms.
I'm having a tough time recalling this, but did we like this? Did we love this person? Just so I know. Or was it somebody we didn't?
Oh no, we
I just want to make sure.
No, he is. No, he's a very nice guy.
Okay,
in fact,
so
he's been on our show more than once.
Okay, so never mind. We won't say it. It was just one of those moments. People don't realize this, but I have, I do have a very sharp, I tend to have a very sharp sense of humor. Very.
Must we listen to this?
Very passive. I enjoy being passive aggressive in order to get a laugh. And Joe, I think you may have seen this a few times. We'd come in and somebody would have drawn a snow map. And they would stand around waiting for some reason. I was like the Pope walking in. It's like, oh, we got to wait till Joe comes in to see. Right. So, and they would show me the map, and I would say, there were a couple of times where I would say, oh, Addison, that map, that's a cute map, but let's see what we could really, now let's put our heads into it and see what we could really come up with. I used to tease. I love Addison to death. Don't get me wrong. I used to just bust. I used to love to bust chops and have some fun with it. And it kind of, because that's what this is. I mean, we just sort of, we're trying to, that's what we do in our show, and we try to have fun with it. But I certainly enjoyed doing that. I really did. If I miss one thing, I miss that. Is coming in, having them all, for whatever reason, and I never understood why, but they all seemed to be in fear of what I was going to look at the forecast, and just make them laugh a little bit.
You were known as we knew you as the Pope.
Oh,
Pope Chiaffi the First.
Oh God!
Or Nostradamus.
Yeah.
There you go.
I always just my biggest issue was, and this is just a natural thing when you're sitting geographically in a different spot than what you're forecasting for. It's I the Hudson Valley very well. I know Long Island also. I know Long Island and its intricacies very well, and lots of weird stuff happens out there. And I always used to get, and I still do, when people, put out these sort of generic forecasts based on rules that don't really work most of the time. Like, oh, well, it always snows less at the coast. Oh, no, it doesn't always snow less at the coast. And, it does this more often at the coast than not. So I used to get bent out of shape over that sort of stuff. Meanwhile, taking a look at the satellite loop today, on the U.S. satellite loop. Not a half bad day, Joe. There are some patchy clouds. We've got this, there's this weak cold front that's coming down. I guess it's a cold front coming down from the north that's going to stall out. There were a couple of scattered showers and this morning on the radar. And, this is one of those tricky days. I'm looking at the loop right now. You've got a stick of clouds over Long Island and the northern half of New Jersey. North and east of there, it's no worse than partly sunny. South and west of there, it's no worse than partly sunny. So, everything today seems to be about location and timing in terms of the weather.
They actually have our area, parts of our area, and points north in general thunderstorm possibilities for today through tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow and Tuesday, they have the whole Northeast awash in general thunderstorm activity. Not severe, but just the possibility that you might see a flash of lightning or hear a rumble of thunder anytime, I guess, between now and the end of the day Tuesday or even early Wednesday.
Yeah, that's kind of how I looked at it along those lines. You're gonna probably drive yourself crazy trying to time all of this. In the meantime, you can see that there is some definitive action, at least where you have a definable shortwave trough like you do in the southern part of the jet stream. And here we are, not even at midday yet, and you're seeing rather large area of clouds, Gulf moisture, high cloud tops, and this is where all the action is going to be today. In fact, just looking at the radar, seeing some heavy downpours and thunderstorms in parts of central and eastern Louisiana into Mississippi, back into East Texas. Meanwhile, in the Northeast, in that stick of clouds, there's like a stick of scattered showers at the moment moving through northern New Jersey and northeastern Pennsylvania and over parts of Long Island. It's going to be that kind of a day if you're lined up.
Jason Schaefer on the chat board says we've had showers in southwest Nassau County so
Yeah,
far. So
not a shocker.
yeah, they are.
Yeah, there's a more solid area of rain in upstate New York. Meanwhile, also back through the plains and on up into the north, into Montana and Wyoming, we've got precip going on there too. So, a lot of areas dealing with this sort of messy, let's call it a messy radar. And the Storm Prediction Center is in a mode of slight risk over the next 3 days. They've got slight risk today in that area from eastern Louisiana across all of Mississippi into western Alabama and southeastern Arkansas. Also a slight risk in northeastern Colorado, northwestern Kansas, and a small area of marginal risk taking southeastern Minnesota, northeastern Iowa, and into central Wisconsin. Just a very, very small area there. Over the next couple of days, the risk areas are not going to move very much in the south. You're going to see another area of slight risk for tomorrow. It relaxes a little bit along the Gulf states, kind of shifts northward into the middle Mississippi and Ohio Valley for Monday into Tuesday. And then we're going to shift it back a little bit further south on the period for Tuesday into Wednesday. There it goes. And we've got a fairly large area of slight risk from Louisiana northeastward through Alabama, Mississippi, northwestern Georgia, just about to me in northern Georgia, much of Tennessee and southern Wisconsin. The marginal risk pushes up to the western half of PA and southwestern New York Tuesday into Wednesday. But Joe, just like you as you pointed out, general thunderstorm activity being indicated, but no severe being indicated for our area from eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England.
It would appear that the one day this week that we may have semi-decent weather will be Thursday, because again we have that threat of scattered showers Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and even maybe a little convection. Thursday seems to be like a pause in all of this before we batten down and get ready for the potential of that coastal system Friday into, I'm sorry to say, the start of next weekend.
Yeah, well, I'm holding back ever so slightly with regards to the end of the week. WPC, by the way, one of the good things about the weather lately is that there's been more rain in upstate New York and in New England, where we talked about the fact that they were under drought conditions. So it'll be interesting to see later next week, later this coming week, whether some of that's been alleviated. It looks like there could be another 1.5 inches plus in the next 7 days in much of the interior Northeast. The amounts do decrease as you go south of New York City down through the I-95 corridor and points east. It looks like more like 1/4 to 1/2 inch being indicated there. We'll see if WPC does anything more with this in the coming days. Rather sizable rainfalls, middle Mississippi, Ohio Valley, down through much of the Gulf states on the order of 3 to 5 inches. Also, again, up the Rockies and on up into the northwestern part, while the southwest part of the U.S., remains pretty much bone dry for the next 7 days. So just kind of jumping ahead, I set up the 500 on the GFS from overnight, and it's a pretty simple um, difference between the models. They all kind of go in the same way, but it's just a matter of amplitude and strength here. We're kind of in this ridge position for the first part of next week here in the eastern part of the United States. And then, of course, you've got a trough in the northern jet that swings through, and that brings our cold front through here. Now, here's the first question, Joe. The GFS for Wednesday and the NAM kind of had the cold front coming through late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, whereas the European has it coming through late in the day on Wednesday. I'm not I'm not. I don't have a good handle on the timing here.
Well, the GFS of late has been the faster and more robust of the models. So it's no surprise that with the front that you just mentioned, the GFS has it coming through Tuesday night into early Wednesday, whereas the European is about 8 or 10 hours slower. We'll just have to wait and see if they do get together and get on the same page in terms of timing. But at this point in time, with that, with those models saying what they're saying, you might as well just say for Wednesday, scattered showers and thunderstorms, and don't try to be any more concise or precise than that, because that's the best you can do with the way these models have been running of late. As I have been saying over and over again of late, it seems to me that once you go beyond, let's say, 4 days, it's, the jury is out. I mean,
Yeah.
it's after 4 days, it could be most anything. It's been increasingly impossible to go with a long range forecast, long range being anything beyond, let's say, 84 hours.
So here's the GFS on the upper air as we carry through the rest of the week. Of course, with the northern jet coming down, that should force a cold front through here. But then there's another trough that swings around on the western part of this, and here we are Thursday afternoon, and you can see it fairly well here. There's one short wave in the northern stream. There's another short wave there in the southern stream. Big ridge builds up the Rockies into the northwest. You've got an upper low sitting off the coast of the northwest, so the upper air pattern is getting amplified. And if you watch the trough in the east, by the time we get to Friday, it actually sharpens up and goes negative here in a big way during the day on Friday. It's got a little wrapped up cutoff over Cape Cod, so it's a very strong upper air, and as a result, you wind up with a coastal low that deepens as it moves northeastward. When you look at the European for this, just the same match up the same time frames, I'll just go to Thursday evening, and the main difference is, I mean, they all sort of have a similar look to it. The European just seems to be a little flatter with the feature in the east. The southern feature is a little faster. The northern feature is a little slower. So the phase is not quite as robust as the GFS has it. It has it taking longer to phase, but the phase occurs a little bit more to the east, so that the low is already long gone at this point. But they do both have a similar idea on how the whole thing plays out. I will say in favor of the GFS on this particular situation is the GFS was better last week with the system that wound up evolving at the end of the week. The European was trying to initially argue for a stronger front coming in late Friday or Friday night, and that it would be more Friday night, Saturday event in terms of the wind. And it turned out to be, just the opposite. So maybe the GFS has got something. It's been doing this coastal low thing for days and days and days now. So maybe it is on to something.
And if you want to go beyond, let's say, the end of the week and into next weekend, and even into the second, the second week of May, the Climate Prediction Center
Hold
has
on.
the Northeast on their six.
Let me give you sharing. Hang on a second. Let's share the map. So put you up there, And let me give you sharing capabilities, which I don't always remember to do. And now you have it, so you should be able to go ahead and share the screen.
which I'm going to do right now.
Okay, and
What is interesting is that the Climate Prediction Center people on the 6 to 10 day. Look at that, Joe. They have our part of the Northeast. Well, not necessarily the New York City, Long Island metropolitan area, but just a stone's throw away to the north and west, across much of western and central New York State. They have 70% probability of below normal from the 7th of May to the 11th of May, which by coincidence is also the same time frame that we had our snow, our snow flurries or snow showers of last year on May the 9th. And if you're saying to yourself, well, if it's going to be that cold, at least the forecast is for that type of cold weather, what does it say in terms of precipitation? Well, let me show you, folks. Precipitation wise, for that same time frame, they have us near normal. So, I guess if you want to take a shot at getting some snow or at least a sighting of a few snowflakes like last year, you would have to hope that we would be at least in the above normal zone, which is actually a little ways to the south and to the west of us. The real area of moisture is over the central plain states up to the northern Rockies. But near normal precipitation and below normal temperatures. So we may be in for a spell of unusually cold or chilly conditions here if you can take this at face value from the Climate Prediction Center from the period from May the 7th through May the 11th.
And actually, I'm just kind of looking at the upper air here from the last run of the GFS. After about after May 11th, that trough in the east pulls out, and we go back to more of a ridge position into the eastern part of the United States. It's not a very strong ridge. It looks like it comes in for a couple of days, but it is it at least brings temperatures back to near average. But there still seems to be a tendency in the longer term for below normal heights in the eastern part, or at least no worse than, let's say, near normal heights in the eastern part of the United States. When you look in the longer term, there's still troughing going on off the East Coast and along the West Coast with sort of a ridge that starts to build near the middle. So it does suggest that we're still going to be in this sort of in and out phase where you get some stretches where temperatures are below normal. Then you get the pop back up for a couple of days. Then it goes near. Then it pulls back a little bit. Um, at least through the mid part of the month. I'll still go. I still say though, if we still see these situations where it's very cold aloft coming into the middle part of the month, depending on where the trough's set up, it's probably going to mean for some severe weather outbreaks somewhere along the way. But for now, at least that's one thing we don't have to worry about. I think this week is severe weather outbreaks for our
Agreed.
area anyway.
Agreed. Just general coverage of thunderstorms. And again, if you hear a rumble of thunder or if you see a flash of lightning, don't be surprised because that's going to be the story for these next few days. And it doesn't look like anything that we can't handle. Again, the main weather maker apparently is going to be, and we'll see how it all finally plays out with both the European and the GFS, that coastal system for Friday into the start of next weekend.
Okay, so is Mrs. Rayo ready for some cooking Jeopardy today? Mr. Briller sent a whole
I'm
host of questions.
I'm going to make the assumption that she is online and is hearing you right now, and I just heard her,
I heard her
and she
too.
is on her way down, I guess.
Okay,
So she
very
will be
good.
ready and willing and able.
I actually
Um,
I actually got up at 8 this morning, and the first thing I did was I got my Sunday sauce. I don't want to get into this gravy sauce debate. Okay, it's actually what I'm making is ragu, not the brand, but ragu is Italian for meat sauce. So that's what I did this morning. I got my meat sauce ready. I have friends visiting from Long Island, so they're going to get an Italian Sunday dinner here, and I can already smell it. So
All right. Well, now that Madame is here, I'm going to switch and give her the headphones, and we will proceed with the second half of this Sunday morning show.
Second half. I hope it doesn't last that long.
So the show is already too long, isn't it, Renata?
It's been droning on and on and on.
I know, exactly. All right, so you ready? You're going to love this today because Scott Briller put together a set of questions regarding German cooking, which is your specialty.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay? So now you're going to have to excuse me here if I pronounce it wrong, so please correct me if I'm going to do the best I can. Okay?
Okay.
Afoken, off coaching. Is that, I don't know if I'm saying this. I don't know how to say this. AUFKOCHEN is German for to cook, to boil, to freeze, to marinate.
Holy mackerel.
So I mean, we really. Yeah, I'm not certain. You know, most German words I'm going to have trouble with. So, but I'll give it. I'm giving this a shot. It's AUFKOCHEN. So it's off kochen.
Aufkochen, I think is what you're trying to say.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, there you go. German
Okay.
German for
So
to cook, to boil, to freeze, to marinate.
You know what? I'm not really sure, but I'm going to say to boil.
And to boil is the correct answer. Okay. Auflafter. Auflafter. AUFLAUFDER is German for A. Casserole, B. Filet, C. Quiche.
Holy mackerel. Auf, then what's the rest of the word? AUF?
AUF, LAUFDER. Auflafter.
Laughter. Goodness gracious. These are not words that my mother used, that's for sure. What was my choices?
Casserole, filet, quiche.
Casserole of laughter. I'm gonna say casserole. That's a pure guess. Really.
And that is correct. 2 for 2.
Correct. Okay.
Aufschlagen. Okay, I think I got this one right. Aufschlagen is German to whip, to cook to medium, to cook to well done.
Aufschlagen.
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 Yes, aufschlagen.
Aufschlagen. And what were my choices?
To whip, to cook well done. I'm sorry, to whip, to cook to medium, or to cook well done.
To whip.
And that is the correct answer. Yeah. I'm going. All right. Yeah. No. It sounds like it would mean that. What does TL mean in German cooking? TL, capital T, capital L. Does it mean?
TL.
Yeah. Totally lemon, large soup spoon, or a type of measurement?
TL.
The capital T, capital L.
TL. The L may stand for it's like leffel or a spoon. I'm gonna say it's a measurement.
You were on the spoon thing. The answer is B. A large soup spoon.
A large soup spoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. In German, in a German supermarket, if you pick up der Joghurt, or Joghurt is how it's spelled, you are picking up A, juice, B, cereal, or C, yogurt.
Oh, yogurt.
Correct. Okay. Number 6. Everyone has a backofen in their kitchen. Okay.
A backofen?
A backofen. Backofen. And that's
Baking oven. Okay.
yeah. That's the answer. So you got that one right. Question 7, and I should get points for pronouncing it fairly well. Okay. Question 7 is, what is the national dessert of Germany? Is it A, the fruit cake, B, the dark forest cake, the C, apple strudel, or D, Bavarian donuts?
I would have to say it's either Äpfelstrudel or the Black Forest cake. It's one of those. In this country, they probably would say the Black Forest cake. I don't know. But in Germany, I think Äpfelstrudel is more popular.
And that is correct. It is apple strudel. Yes. Okay, so now the next one. There are approximately 1,500 varieties of this in Germany. Okay? 1,500 varieties of this in Germany. A, chocolate. B, cheese. C, pasta. Or D, Wurst.
Oh, I would think it has to be Wurst.
Yeah, Wurst. Wurst. Okay.
Yeah.
And finally, besides me, who is the only meteorologist that the chairman has met in person? And the choices are Mr. G, Frank Field, Alan Casper, Glenn Schwartz.
Oh, I haven't heard him mention any of those in reference to himself. So it's kind of like a stab in the dark, but I'll say Mr. G, because Mr. G's been just about anywhere and everywhere visiting, over the years.
No, the answer
to the public.
The answer is Frank Field. And by the way, I believe a few weeks ago had his 98th birthday, and we wish and a happy birthday to Frank. So not too shabby.
That's a long life.
Yes, it is.
Long life well lived. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you did good. You did good with the guessing, and you did good with what you knew. And I did not do.
Right.
Yeah, and I pardon me for the mispronunciation. It's Italian.
That's
I can
okay.
figure out.
It's not your language.
It's
you would have done better probably in Italian, maybe.
Yeah, no, Italian I can handle. But yeah, it's a little harder. Actually, speaking it for an Italian is a little more difficult because of the different, the linguistics involved, the harder. The German language is the pronunciations are a little harder. Italian.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's a little. By harder I mean just the hearing it, the emphasis on certain letters versus, in Italian, if you can roll your R's, you can pretty much get away with saying everything, correctly. Just all you got to do is roll R's. Yeah. Ricotta, like that. Uh-huh. Anyhow, have a good.
Yeah, it's part of the Romance languages, right?
Yes.
It's a much prettier sounding language.
Yes. Okie doke. Have a good one.
Mr. Rayo, he hasn't heard a word of this because you went upstairs to listen? Oh, okay. I didn't bring down the other computer.
Well, have a great Sunday.
Have a great Sunday. Happy Sunday to everybody. And here's my hubby back.
I'll have you know, we were watching upstairs.
Oh, okay.
And Maria,
laughing hysterically.
Well, every time you pause when he asked a question and you were pausing, Maria said, Out with it, Mom. Out with it.
Well, I guess we could say farewell on this Sunday. It was a good show.
Yes. And I'm going to have to go upstairs now because guess who forgot her glasses?
Ah, okie doke. No worries. So, so we'll be back tomorrow night at our usual 7 o'clock. I'm sorry, 7:30 Eastern time start time. And the Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon. 631-756-1125. Website omnitruevalue.com. Remember, they've got tons of mulch. They make it there. They've got the best prices in town, and they are a local business. Also, want to give a shout out to our other sponsor, Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst. And they're at 631-957-5106. We're in May, folks, and believe it or not, but won't be too long before we're going to be talking about Halloween and Christmas. So they're your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. If you want to get your house decorated for the holidays, or you want to do this as a business, a money-making business, give them a call, 631-957-5106. liholidaylighting.com is the website. Leon Probitsky was more well known as Leon of Lindenhurst, hitting Super Chat today just now. Thank you very much, Leon. It is most appreciated. And I got to go take care of my ragu on the stove. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, Mr. Rayo.
You too, sir. And we'll see everybody tomorrow night.
All right. See you tomorrow night. Thanks, everybody, for being here, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Yes.
And